Exciting news, everybody. That is right. We have added something to the store that was highly requested, and we put a lot of thought into it. Let me explain. Now, as bikers, we all know that unexpected things can happen while you're out there on the road. Now, I will say many of us are prepared for a mechanical issue with our Cruise Tools roadside emergency repair kits. Of course, the ones you got right from the law-abiding biker store, and we appreciate that. But a more serious than a motorcycle breakdown mechanically is, of course, an injury to you or someone you are riding with. Now, I got to ask, why would you risk not being prepared for that, bikeaholics? I'm going to testify. I'm guilty of it.
Preach.
I'm preaching. I'm guilty of it. I was guilty of it for years. Just put it off. And I don't know why, because that's stupid. But I admit I was stupid, and that's not the stupidest mistake I've ever made. But I am now prepared. And so we brought right to the Law-Abiding Biker store. It's called the Law-Abiding Biker First Aid and Trauma Kit. Yep, at a very affordable price. So we've given you no reason not to be prepared with a small and easily storable biker prepared first aid kit. Yep, I want to say we did really think this first aid kit out. It's a biker first aid kit. We want to make sure it had the necessities and just what you need, of course, without overdoing it to keep it small and compact, because you can get out of control with first aid kits and stuff you're probably never going to use. Now, the kit comes with everything you need, such as a plethora of different size bandages, gauze, compression dressing, medical tape, latex gloves, whistles, scissors, rescue blanket, and most importantly, a military-grade tourniquet. And that can really save a life, guys. Just make sure you know how to use the tourniquet, all right, for that more serious type trauma. And all these items are inside a very light, tightly packed tactical nylon MOLLE bag measuring only 8 by 4 by 4. Best of all is that you know our design kit is biker approved because it has our name right on the outside of the kit. Now, this is not something you should have with you at all times, but a must-have at all times. You can get it exclusively and only right in the Law-Abiding Biker store. It is the Law-Abiding Biker First Aid and Trauma Kit. We're very excited to have it in there. And if you end up using it, please drop us a line. Email us, contact us, let us know the story behind it if you're willing to share. We sold these so fast when we released the video. We're still selling them so fast. They sold out, but don't worry. We've got more from our manufacturer coming, and we're going to try to keep them in stock for you guys, but you can still order them. You just may have to wait a week or so until we get all the stock back in, but we appreciate your support, and we definitely appreciate you getting them. It is an affordable kit, and make sure you share it around with all your biker friends. Do them a favor, letting them know, yeah, I didn't carry a first aid kit for a long time, and you should be carrying it. Remind bikers that it's as easy as getting this one, and you'll have peace of mind that you're ready to rock and roll should you have a roadside emergency other than mechanical. All right, guys, we got us an email, and I think Lurch is probably going to handle this email. Would you like to do that, Lurch?
Absolutely.
All right.
I just have to get back to it. I was doing a little research for something a little later in the podcast. Anyways, this email is about switching out handlebars on 2013 Switchback. So this is from Michael Deitch, and he asked what video would work best for changing out bars on his Switchback. And looking at the Switchback, the front end of it looks really a lot like a Road King. So I recommended our Road King video to him. And he says, I purchased a Road King video. I switched out my handlebars today. I was able to use the info from all the videos to get the job done. It was easier than the bike you were working on the video, probably because there's a little less involved from the Road King. You saved me a ton of money. I thank you for putting the video together. It was well worth the cost. So thank you, Michael. Appreciate taking the time to let us know that the products that we're making help you, because, again, that's what fuels us to continue to make these types of videos. And if you're interested in that video or any other for-purchase premium videos, lawabidingbiker.com/buy videos.
Yeah, very nice. And just one quick thing to add on that is it's all our buy videos are at the URL Lurch just gave, but if you just want to go to our 4 handlebar specific videos, it's lawabidingbiker.com/Harley handlebars. There's 4 to choose from there. And exactly what Michael said is our videos doing handlebars, we've said this in the past, is a universal process. There are slight variations, but the way we set up those 4 videos is they have so many video files, each one. It really doesn't matter which one you pick. It's going to get you through it because in there is video files. So the differences are, do you have a cable clutch or do you have a hydraulic clutch? Well, we show you both. Do you have cable throttle or fly-by-wire? We show you both. So it doesn't matter, pick the one that seems right for you, whether it's a fairing or non-fairing or a Dyna or a soft tail. But honestly, we give you enough information, like he says, with our handlebar videos. Some of our top sellers, save yourself, $1,500, $1,600 for some handlebar jobs. You can do it. Trust me. Our videos are very detailed. And so we appreciate that feedback, continuing to help bikers around the world. Want to ride longer? Tired of a sore and achy ass? Then fix it with a high-quality butt buffer seat cushion. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store. Check out our full line of butt buffer seat cushions. Once you've had rickrack, you'll never go back. The ultimate motorcycle luggage rack solution. Forget those messy straps and bungee cords. Go strapless with a rickrack quick attach luggage system and quality bag. lawabidingbiker.com/store. Get hooked up now, guys. We appreciate the continued support over in the store there. All right, 3D has a wide variety of innovative products for your Harley-Davidson and a brand new line for the all-new Honda Goldwing named Gold Strike. Top quality, affordable chrome lighting and comfort products. Zero Gold Strike are the motorcycle LED lighting innovators for CAN bus plug-and-play system compatibility. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store. Check out our full line of 3D products. I'm laughing because Lurch is waving air in and around his space because Louie, the studio dog, just totally crop dusted him.
That's twice. He did it just a little bit ago. And I said, he might need to go out. And I don't think you took him out, did you?
I do ask you this, though, Lurch.
What?
This is a serious question, okay? Does it smell minty?
No, it does not.
Really?
No.
What would that indicate?
That he has not used a dude wipe.
Correct.
Louis needs...
He is guilty.
Yes, he is guilty as charged.
As charged of not using a dude wipe, guys. You got to use dude wipe because if you do that,
it smells like fresh mint, like just a field of fresh mint.
It is like a mint field.
Yeah.
You might be in Louis' situation. Now, Louis a dog. So Louis doesn't give 2 shits about Lurch.
No, apparently not. He just farted.
Correct. Or that he may do it on purpose. I don't know. He's a little bit mischievous that way.
Yes, he can be.
And so, Louis, just being one of the guys out here in the studio, is like, you know what? Ain't no chicks out here. You know what else? He looks down. He's like, I got no balls. So, the poor little guy, he's got just a
He's got a squeaker toy is what he's got.
He's got a squeaker toy. He's got no nuts, dude. They got cut off at a young age. So he's like, what do I care? I ain't getting any chicks. And even if I get a chick,
can't do anything with it.
I can't get a Woody. Well, actually, I think he can still get a Woody. He just doesn't.
It just can't procreate.
He can't procreate. He doesn't really know what he's doing. So anyways, the difference is he doesn't care. We or you may care. You may be with that first date, that hot chick. You may be laying, watching a movie with her, and you let one fly quietly, discreetly. The deal is if you have prepared and used a mint dude wipe, she's just going to compliment you on the cologne you're wearing.
What is that mint cologne you have on there, sir?
And you're just going to go with it, knowing that it was easy for you because you just went to lawabidingbiker.com/fresh-butt. That's /fresh-butt, B-U-T-T. No, that's not a joke. It's a real link. And by clicking through and making a purchase, we do get a small commission. It helps keep the lights on here. We appreciate it. Get hooked up. That's just one of many ways that a dude wipe can improve your life and your relationships.
We're here to help.
That's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
And that's all I have to say about that. I think we should start the podcast, actually.
Let's do it.
Got a great episode for you guys. I'm actually excited about this. We're batch producing some episodes today. Welcome back, you freaking bikeaholics. This is the podcast for the motorcycle majority. The Big MM, also known as the
99%.
Large and in charge of the motorcycle scene more than any time in history. By being here, by listening, you're part of what we call the hashtag
Biker Revolution.
We do have just one question. What are you waiting for, bikeaholics?
Mount up and let us take you on another wild-ass ride.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back. Ryan Erlacher here, your host of the Law Abiding Biker Podcast, and of course, your
high-tech redneck.
Happy to be in the studio, batch processing a couple episodes. Today is all about Harley King of the Baggers Racing. We just did an episode. I assume that's probably going to come out before this one.
It will now.
If it doesn't, it's okay. Yeah, we've screwed that up before.
Yeah.
But it's all about my trip to Arizona trackside preseason with the race bikes, the racers, the team. Hopefully you get a chance to listen to that and get excited about King of the Baggers season here in 2023. This particular episode is going to piggyback off that. Everything I talk about, we've done separate videos on. So I did a trip video. It's been out on YouTube. Make sure you hit it up, share it, like it, all that kind of stuff. Comment on it. We'd love to see you over there on the YouTube channel. This here podcast is piggybacking. While I was down there, they released brand new announcement of the Harley-Davidson 135 crate motor. And I also, while I was down there, got to do a very detailed walk around and get the most beautiful shots of a actual 2023, which has some different mods than the 2022 version. Walk around, and I do a video on that, and I explain all the mods and how maybe it differs and how it's similar to a production bike. That's what we're going to go over in this one, the 135 crate motor, and we're going to go over the walk around. I'm going to explain. I had a lot of time, and if you want visuals, make sure you watch the video, because along with explanation, you get the visuals. But I'm actually going to, because that's what we do at podcast. Videos are great, but they have to keep them very succinct and in your face and short to keep viewers' attention. Podcasts are more long form, so I'm able to actually divulge some information that I wasn't able, or I didn't think fit for the video and the time time frame I was trying to stay in. That's the art of video creation, is you have to cut out a lot of stuff. I don't have to do that on the podcast, so I always like getting on the mic here. We can just be a couple bikers here talking about these mods, which is really cool. So yeah, if hang on for the ride, because we got a lot of specs and different stuff and things I learned. And hopefully at the end of the day, it'll get you excited, not only for Harley King of the Baggers, but what Harley King of the Baggers is actually doing for the motorcycle industry and what it's doing for Harley-Davidson in the design and innovation and the things that they're able to test out on the track and learn, and then bring that to our production baggers on the street to make them even better machines. So there's a lot of reason that King of the Baggers, that's just one thing that does helping to, push performance and design forward, and the motorcycle industry as a whole, because Indians involved too. And on their side of things, of course, they're doing the same exact things. Lurch, do you want to announce a new free video?
I sure do. It is the, we titled it as Light Up Your Rear, Serial Crown Taillight with Light Strike Technology. The URL for that is lawabidingbikeR.com/serial-crown-tail-light, or just check in the show notes below. We'll have a link to it. It is a really cool rear taillight that fits the street glides and road glides. The model's with the light bar across the back, right? So you got the two bullet signals, and it's connected with the bar, and it mounts right on top of the bar. It comes in black, it comes in chrome. The cool thing about it is it's got a bunch of different animations. So when you hit your brake light, you get different flashing patterns. The road glides and the street glides in particular, with just the two bullet signals on the back, don't give you a whole lot of lighting. So it's a really good way to not only make a neat style on the back of your bike and do something different, but it also gets the attention of people behind you. You've got it on your bike, and when I ride behind you and you hit that thing, it flashes, it grabs.
It does, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
All done via a smartphone app. Very simple to program, whatever you like. So freshen your rear with a dude wipe and light your rear with Light Strike Technology, the Serial Crown Tail Light, lawabidingbikeR.com/whatever episode number this is. Lurch does the show notes. He'll make sure and put a link to that video and that product if you are interested. Now, we love our sponsors up front, but these folks are also a direct reason that these podcasts are coming to you strong after 10 years. I want to thank the following people.
Thank Kevin Underhill of Puyallup, Washington, right in our backyard. Michael Meal of Tienen, Belgium, and Walter Oliver of Beaufort, California.
And if I didn't mention, these are all patron members. And moving on, Alien DeCellas of Chautauqua, Quebec, Canada. Michael Walter of Arnold, Missouri, and Stephen Wolf of Bradenton, Florida. lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon, Patreon. That's right. Pledge a certain amount per piece of content. No risk to you because you could put a monthly cap. There are benefits for signing up, such as t-shirts and stickers. You get access to the private Facebook group, which is a troll-free zone, nothing but bikers helping and connecting with other bikers in there. Store coupon codes, get access to live video broadcasts and chat podcasts early like this one. You're going to get it months before everybody else. It's going to be uploaded to the back end of your Patreon accounts. It won't come out publicly for months. In most cases, that's the timeline. And then, of course, access to premium videos upon request if you're top tier. And, of course, access to those ride meetup and events. And not only our main event, which we're doing this year in Reno, Nevada, but with our Patreon members sanctioned, if you will. There's also a lot of unsanctioned. We say that lightly and jokingly, but they're unsanctioned events right in the Law-Abiding Biker private Facebook group where bikers are just traveling and meeting other bikers, and they're even throwing events around the country. So just a lot of stuff going on in there, and it's really, really developed and made us proud over the years just to see the community in there and how you all support each other. So ramping it up in 2023. We appreciate all the new patron members. Those are just a few. We announce a few each episode.
I'm glad you didn't read ahead and see Chateauguay or whatever that is, Quebec, Canada.
No. You said it the same way I did. So good. I don't feel so bad.
Chateauguay. Chateauguay. A lot of times you'll read ahead and you see a tongue twister. You'll leave it for me. So I'm glad you took that one. Thank you.
I'll take it right on. I say it without even apologizing. I'm just like, I know I mutilated, but I'm not even apologizing because I'm sure the Canadian Patreon members like, that's what we expected.
They get harder to pronounce when you get into Quebec.
No doubt, dude.
You start getting a lot more French influences in those names over there.
No doubt. So we're excited to talk about this. I love talking bikes, and I learned so much, and I'm so excited about King of the Baggers for this season. In fact, this weekend, after the recording of this podcast, is the first of the races kicking off, and I got to look. Me and Lurch are going to try to make a race this year, but we were actually looking at our schedules, and we're like, shit, not sure that's going to – we are packed. And we got some more stuff with Harley-Davidson. Harley-Davidson did invite me down to see that. And we're working on some other stuff. So who knows? But nonetheless, I actually have it up on my screen. I was going to look into Moto America. I know I looked last year, but I believe if you want to watch it on TV and get together with your buddies and throw back some grogs and have some chips and, a barbecue, maybe some brats, it's a good reason to get together. They're short races. They're Saturday, Sunday. But I believe Moto America last year you could buy for your TV. You could just, if you're only going to see a couple, you can just rent it for the weekend. And then you can get like a year. You can rent it all year for a discounted price, right, Lurch? You're shaking your head.
Yeah, it's $109 for the season pass. And what you get out of that is you can watch it either on their website or you can go to the web, Roku, Android, iOS, Apple TV. In addition to that, there's about 6 to 8 hours of live coverage.
You can get it on Apple TV too, huh?
Yeah.
The app, do you download the app? Probably you.
It's called live. It's called.
Okay, so you download it. It's not actually integrated.
They call it Moto America Live Plus. So
Gotcha.
you can download their app. And
nice.
You can get a season pass. And if you want to get a season pass, you get some extra stuff. But it's also $13 an event too. So I mean, if you do the math on it, if you plan on watching all 7 of them, you're looking at about the same. And you'll get
price. The replays, I'm sure.
But there's other stuff that you can watch too. Yeah.
If you don't get them live, you can come home after work and watch them, right? They'll be on there, I assume.
Yes. Okay. But there's more racing than just King of the Baggers on
right, because they go it with super bikes, right? Mm-hmm. They combine it in with super bikes.
So there's all kinds of stuff that you can watch. But yeah, that's the only place I can find it. Last season, I was able to find it on Fox Sports 2, which I had through DirecTV, but I'm not seeing that. And don't quote me on it, but just my quick research so far, it looks like Moto America is going to be the only place to watch it.
There you go.
Unless you wait and watch it afterwards. Moto America puts it on their YouTube channel.
Eventually,
after,
right?
Yeah.
Not right after, but
no,
yeah.
You'll have to wait.
I'm going to get it this year. I've learned so much about it, and I hope these episodes and the videos I did help get you guys excited. If you have ever had an interest, it's totally different than any other kind of motorcycle racing. What's cooler than seeing a bagger hauling ass, looking like a super bike around corners, and just these guys are big hearts that are racing it. The teams have big hearts, highly motivated. It's still very new, only going into season 3 here, but anyways, yeah, I'm going to get it for Motoamerica, and I'm going to watch it this weekend, and hopefully Lurch and I and maybe some of the other guys can make it like an event, like come over to my house. What are you looking at?
Yeah, they've got a free app on iOS. And so I think once you download the app, then there's purchasing inside the app if you want to watch
Gotcha.
some of the different stuff.
There you go, guys. So, yeah, excited about it. It's good for the industry. Like I said, good for us, good for consumers. So we're going to break down, while I was down there, trackside. Now, I did a separate video on this. We're going to break this down. First, we're going to talk about the 135 crate motor, then the walk around with mods. So the 135 crate motor, while I was down trackside, I had a day down there, and you want to hear about that day, like I say, go back, watch the video, listen to the podcast. But while I was down there, one announcement that was a surprise, I didn't know till I got down there. We signed an embargo that morning at breakfast, and they said, you got to sign an embargo if you want to learn about this. I said, I want to learn about it. So we signed an embargo. Obviously, that's over with Harley-Davidson. And Jason Kale announced, and he's basically manager of engineering, Screamin Eagle, and team leader for King of the Baggers. Super bright guy. And so I was able to film him as they made the very first announcement that very day to the public. And other than that, it was inside folks only. And it was all about this new 135 cubic inch crate engine or motor, whatever. And he had it up on a table. He had a 131. That's what the crate motor largest was before. So this bumps it up to a 135. And he went through and explained, as I filmed, what this motor's about and what some of the components and some of the things they did. And we'll break down some of the power that they were able to achieve. He does a much better job, but we think we know it well enough. We're going to talk about it here on the podcast to give you an idea.
Yeah, he's an engineer.
We're
we're just a couple of podcast hosts.
We're basically telling you what we learned from him.
And a little of what we know.
And a little bit of what we know, yeah. So Jason Kale explains it. Let's go ahead. And Lurch, you need to do some talking on this episode so I don't lose my voice again.
Okay. Well, the 135 is built on the 131 Milwaukee 8 platform. But what they did is, and the reason how they achieved the larger 135 was through stroke. So, your displacement of your two cylinders in the 131 are 131 cubic inches. And the new one's 135. Well, how did they achieve that if they're using the same platform, right? The cylinders aren't heads and all that. It's not bigger. What they did is they created a shorter stroke, which made more
that's what your wife says about you, short stroke.
More available space inside the cylinders. So essentially, it doesn't necessarily make the motor itself bigger, but it makes the chamber inside a little bit bigger. Does that make sense?
No, you're explaining this way better than I could.
Okay.
Matt is more eloquent when it comes to, I'll just admit that, when it comes to this kind of, so I know what it is, but he explains it well. So I think that's great.
So for, motor car guys out there, there's this Chevy 350 motor, very tried and true motor. And then there's a 383 stroker motor. And they did the same thing with the 350 as they made more room inside the motor, essentially by what you do is you make the pistons shorter or not as high.
Thinner, right?
It just depends on how you explain it.
Right. If you're looking at the side of it, it would be thinner.
It's not thinner per se. I mean, the metal and stuff's not thinner. It's the height of it is shorter. So there's not as much. It's really kind of hard to. I'm trying to make it visual for the person that's listening right now, but it's the piston itself isn't as high, which now creates more space inside the cylinder.
Which is thinner because he said they had to take some out of the piston to make the pin higher because they had to, and he was actually showing the thickness of it, right? And then they put a ring on there or,
I'll get to all that. I just don't, I'm trying to paint a picture and I don't know if thinner is the right word because the metal and all that's not thinner. If you had the two sitting on a table, the two piston heads or the pistons, the 131 would be taller than the 135. So hopefully
what
that makes sense.
It taller?
They've had to make it shorter. They had to remove material, not thinner. It's not thinner.
Okay.
But it's just not as high.
Gotcha.
So that creates more space inside the cylinder, which makes it go from the 131 to the 135. You did mention that they had to adjust the piston height, or the pin height, because they're using a lot of the components of a 131. But if you're going to shrink that piston down, now you've got to adjust the pin height so that it's in the right place.
Right.
So there is less real estate, if you will, on the top of the piston. So they had to get creative with the rings. So the rings are a little bit, those are a little bit thinner. And they did put gas porting on the top ring to help handle all that horsepower.
Can you explain gas porting? Are you able to do that?
No, not well enough.
Okay, all right, good. We're just going to leave that. Yep.
Essentially, they use the piston rings they engineered them to be thinner, but still not sacrifice any ability for them to seal and keep the compression in the cylinder not blow by and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, that's good.
I can't get too much more technical.
I can't either. I understand it kind of, but I'm just getting I think that's good enough.
Okay,
I agree, because I ain't jumping into that one.
While we're still talking about engine size and performance, generally speaking, when you have a percentage of increase in size of the motor, that generally tends to relate to an equal percentage of change of performance in horsepower and torque. But what's cool about this is they were able to get about 3% larger size, but they ended up getting about 10% in horsepower. So that's pretty impressive.
Because what's the norm?
It's the norm is equal
1-to-1, right?
Yeah, 1-to-1. So they went 1 to 3 point something. So
that's crazy.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah.
All done through stroke, like you say. And
stroke,
he mentions that a couple times. He mentions that.
Stroke and some of the other things we'll get into talking here in the future, as we go through this, explaining it all. And a lot of that, as you mentioned, came through testing on the track.
Yeah.
So they did go with a larger throttle body. It's a 68 millimeter throttle body as compared to the stock 64 on the 131. And listening to Jason talk about that, they did use larger and they did use smaller throttle bodies on the race bikes, and found that 68 millimeter was a sweet spot. So that's what you're going to find on there. And that's made it to a CNC ported 68 millimeter aluminum intake manifold. So versus, like your stock 114 with a, standard intake on it, that throttle body, or I'm sorry, not throttle body, but the intake is plastic. Mm-hmm. And when you're running that much horsepower, that doesn't get you the best performance, because that can potentially be deformed. Whereas aluminum's going to give you a lot more performance.
Plus, they can polish the shit out of it, which makes the float right. There's all kinds of stuff they can do with that. It's beautiful looking at it.
The air goes through it better and everything. So that's cool that one. Essentially, the 135 is a stage 4 motor, so it's got all the the bigger stuff on it.
Yep.
And so on this bike, the Screamin Eagle oil pump and cam plate are standard on it. So you don't have the stock oil pump and cam plate. They've upgraded it to the polished aluminum and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So
CNC machine, similar to something you find with S&S or whatever. You look at the Harley Screamin Eagle cam plate and oil pump. It's a high performance one, similar to that of like an S&S.
Right. And so, interestingly enough, just to piggyback off that a little bit, is that cam plate and oil pump is actually the same as you can upgrade to. That's a straight up same one you're using. It's production. It's just coming stock with it.
Right.
So
it's coming stock with the Screamin Eagle, not the standard Harley one.
Yep.
So if you bought a 114 or 117 with a standard oil pump, and you would upgrade it.
Right. This
thing's coming with
in
it.
the kit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Needs to come with it. So that's
absolutely
good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's beautiful, obviously. Yeah. I love looking at all those parts.
The fuel injectors were increased to 5.5 grams per second with new injector targeting, and they use a dual spray injectors to maximize the fuel pattern and the consistency of it.
Interestingly, Jason there, I don't think I put it in the video. I can't remember. I think I cut it out, but he was saying, because one of the questions down there was, they were looking at injector sizes, and they have to be careful. It's funny. You learn they have to be careful because what they say, the frickin' feds are looking at them because they're one of the biggest motorcycle, or, biggest in that category of motorcycle, from the EPA. And he was like street legal. At the time of this video, it was street legal in every state except it haven't been approved in California yet. Still hasn't. No. So it's funny how he was careful on what he said that, in case somebody was watching, like, this is for street. And so what I'm getting at is he said, and if a guy tweaked, you could get more out of those injectors.
Yeah.
You see how he was for a street legal application. It's funny because he was saying that on purpose because they're breathing down their necks, the EPA.
Absolutely. This is a, street legal crate motor. It fits the 21 and newer bikes. And I'm sure part of that is because the 21 newers have the different, the plugins, for the CAN bus and whatnot.
CAN bus and all that, yeah.
So that you can only tweak them so much, not like the models previous to that. So yes, a guy could take this
21
motor,
and newer.
Yeah.
Okay.
A guy could take this and if it was in a race application, little air quotes, race application, you can definitely bump it up more. You can increase the fuel and the air and all that good stuff. But
they've got some room to play with still.
There always is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, buddy.
But they did mess around with different injectors, smaller and larger and different different targeting, meaning how they spray. And they ended up with that 5.5 grams per second with dual spray. And they found that to work the best. One of the cool things about this motor is it's fully assembled and inspected at the factory. They say it's pretty easy to change out, so essentially it's just a drop-in-place motor.
All right, we need this in our life.
Yeah, we do.
We need to install one of these. We need it in our life.
Oscar.
Yeah.
Oscar needs one on his bike.
He's
got a 21 CVO. We can rip out that 117 and drop in a 135.
Buddy.
But what is cool about it is it's made at the factory, it's inspected, and it carries the Screamin Eagle warranty. So you do have some warranty with it. Sometimes with custom motors, you only have a certain amount of warranty with those things. So or
through the company instead of Harley
And it's going to run about $8,000, actually $7,999. Comes in black and chrome.
Mm-hmm.
It fits the 21 and later touring models equipped with air or oil-cooled Milwaukee engine. Does not fit the trike models.
They have a water-cooled version too. He says that.
Oh, okay. I'll look it up. I didn't see it. But,
they have both air, oil, and water cooled. Same with the 131.
Let me look.
Yeah.
You talk, I'll look.
So does not fit trike models. Requires separate purchase of head pipe. There's a PIN number. An oil cooler fan assist. There's a PN number, of course. Or fan for factory oil cooler. PIN number. Obviously, they'll work all that out with you if you order this thing. All models will require ECM calibration, of course, with the Screamin Eagle Pro Street Tuner for proper installation. And this does not fit California models. All you California guys,
does fit.
It does fit.
You can't run it.
God, I don't know how you guys put up with that, but I get it if that's where you live or your job and all that. But man, poor California and our lovely California audience, guys. I'm going to do this real quick as Lurch is looking that up, and we've got a lot more to talk about. Hey, Bikeaholics, searching for new and exciting motorcycle products? 03D has the products you dream about for your bike. Check out their wide variety of innovative products for Harley-Davidson and Honda Goldwing motorcycles. 03D's got your back with chrome and black parts lighting and other comfort products. No modifying, cutting, grinding, or welding for an easy installation that equals less time installing, more time riding. 03D has a design team of riders with over 40 years experience with a passion for design and innovation. Zero Gold Strike are the motorcycle LED lighting innovators for CAN bus plug-and-play system compatibility. They pride themselves on great customer service. Got a question? Get in touch with them. Sales at 03D.com. Give them a call, 715-808-0027, or check out your local Harley or Honda dealership and ask for Zero or Gold Strike parts. A new leader has emerged, so check out 03D's custom line of Gold Strike products for the all-new Honda Goldwings. Better yet, help support us. Head over to lawabidingbike.com/store. Check out our full line of 03D products. We appreciate Zero's continuing support after many years of our platform here, and thus ultimately supporting you guys out there. What's your findings, Lurch?
Yes, there is a twin-cooled version, same price and same fitment. 21 and newer, does not fit trike. And down here it says these performance parts are 49 state U.S. EPA compliant, but are not compliant for sale in the use of California on pollution-controlled motor vehicles.
Yeah, but I think they still tweaking. They were trying to get the California approval. They don't have it yet. I think they're going to, but it might be something a little bit different. I'm not sure on that. I'm being very careful there. But the way I understood it, Jason said they were working on all states and that they were just waiting. They thought they might have it before they released on March 1st, but they clearly don't have it. But here's the deal. I think the California model, when it is available, guys, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be totally awesome. And it's going to be in the form of a stomper motor. Do you remember stompers from the day, dude? The little electric cars that we did. Weren't they? Look up stompers on your thing, dude. We're going to go off track. Stompers were those, you'll know it when you see it. They were Stomper toy. And they were little electric motors. And we took those little motors out and we used them for all kinds of stuff. You could like little, are you coming up with?
I just never had one.
Oh my God, dude. They were so popular.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was poor when we were kids.
Oh, dude, like we weren't, dude. Those were hand-me-downs from my cousins.
We were in the same boat, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I never had one.
Yeah, so it'll be an electric stomper motor, and you guys can refit your Harley, and it'll be EPA compliant. It'll make Governor Gruesome, right? It's Governor Gruesome, right, Lurch?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Governor Gruesome down there.
He's too busy vacationing in
well, they have 17 feet of snow in Southern California.
Yeah, he's like in Cabo, and they're good in Northern California, right? Central Northern's getting hammered by snow. He's too busy taking a vacation.
Yes, Central Northern. So I'm sure he'll allow it, and I mean, you guys, it'll be great. Revving that up, it'll sound just like a Harley. I'm just teasing. I feel sorry for all you California folks down there. My goodness. All right. So with that said, anything else on the crate motor that we want to say? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Those are some of the things. Watch the video. You'll get to see, like I say, Jason explain it. And he actually shows the piston, shows the intake, shows the cam plate and oil pump. And there's a 131 cutout motor up there, meaning it's a 131, but they've got portions of it cut out so you can see components sitting on the table. But yeah, I'm excited about that. Again, this is what we're talking about. Like they get to play with these track bikes. And a lot of them are volunteering their time because they're so passionate about this, but they're learning so much stuff. And the 135 is a direct result of King of the Baggers bike. So more to come with design and innovation and these motors and things like that. So you should all applaud, whether you watch it or not, King of the Baggers and what it's doing for the bagger industry specifically.
Just a few bullet points here off their website. We didn't have it in our notes. It says this combination is designed for wide open throttle, along with high-end RPMs and a significant torque increase for a cruising speed. A higher cruising speed, I would think.
Right.
Ready to bolt in installation with the original equipment style chassis for your touring bike. No special fabrication or engine mount relocation is required. And if you stick it in there within 60 days of buying your new bike, they'll give you a 2-year warranty on it.
If you stick it in, you can pull it back out. That's what you're saying.
Put it in, put it out.
Put it in, that's right.
Over and over.
All right, guys. Good. So there's the 135 crate motor. Now we're going to move into the actual King of the Bagger motorcycle modifications. A lot of you I was always curious. There was no really detailed videos out there. Just showing like a very slow walk around and explaining parts and explaining modifications and some of the rules and what they can and can't do. So I'm pretty stoked about this video, and I strongly suggest giving it a watch. It'll open your eyes to the sport and kind of what they're doing and how much of the bagger they actually retain.
It's getting less and less.
It is as the rules change, but it's actually still a lot. But as far as the guts, motor, they're lean angle, which we're going to get into, some of that stuff, but it's still really much.
And I'm not saying
I know.
I'm okay.
I'm surprised at how much it still was. Honestly, I had when I looked at it down there and filmed, I was like, it's actually less than I thought. They're kind of restricted on what. Yeah.
The bones are the same. A lot of the parts are still the same, although they may be upgraded higher end than you would get on a stock bike. But I was watching the first race in 2020 just a little bit ago, and it was just fun to watch because they had stock bags on the bikes. Granted, they were moved up. They had re-bracketed them, moved them up for clearance. They had the stock fairings on. There was a hole inside the stock fairing. I was showing you a street glide that still had the speedometer and tach and original inner dash and everything.
They weren't even worrying about weight as much then.
All they did was take out a headlight and put a cover over it. It's amazing where they've come from. Yeah, they still definitely look like a bagger, and they're baggers at heart. But the changes they're doing is getting them faster and faster, which makes it fun, more fun to watch.
Lighter, faster, more nimble. Yeah, it is. So basically, guys, I'll start it with this. Here's the deal. The reason the sport's so exciting, and I said it in our last episode, is, a number of reasons. Number one, like we've already said, design, performance, taking the industry forward. But the other thing is, I just want you to imagine a sport bike, if you will, or super bike. All right. Super bikes, on the track, going around corners, dragging knees, stuff like this. These bikes were developed, engineered from the ground up to haul ass at very high, lean angles. And, these bikes were made to just be crazy on the track. That's what they're supposed to do. And so you take that kind of sport where, whether it's skiing or golfing or snowboarding or whatever, you're using equipment that was designed for its intended purposes. Now with King of the Baggers, the reason it draws so many and the reason it catches my eye, number one, I can really appreciate the bagger thing, and the discipline, so to speak, of what these riders have to go through. Obviously, as a police motorcycle instructor, train hard, train other guys on baggers, off-road, on-road, high-speed tracks, low-speed drills, and just the discipline and a lot of things you have to do to stay proficient. And the fact that it's a bagger. So I was immediately drawn to it. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. That's one thing. But the other thing is they're taking these bikes. Now, these bikes, obviously, I know this because I've been on a high-speed track with it. They can do certain things, but they were never designed ever engineered or designed. Not one time did an engineer go, I'm going to make these components so I can see this bike being on a racetrack someday. In fact, they did completely the opposite. These bikes were made to cruise and tour.
Comfort.
Some say they're rolling sofa, right?
Yeah.
These things were made to be comfortable. So you're taking, it's completely outside the scope of what these bikes are supposed to be doing. And so these engineers have to be really awesome, number one. Number two, the riders have to be awesome because they are completely 100% reverse engineering a stock bagger and trying to make it so that it works on a track, kinda, and that people don't die doing it. So that's it at the end of the day. And so these riders have to be amazing. Now, Kyle Wyman, Travis Wyman, factory riders for Harley-Davidson, also ride super bikes, race super bikes. So, that's one thing in itself. They're really good at that because those bikes are made for that. But taking a rider, they have to relearn because these bikes just don't respond the way that a super bike does. And they really have to relearn some of the way they ride. It's interesting. Kyle has a flat track background too. They've both ridden dirt bikes and things like that. To see them ride these, the different riders ride them a little bit different. If you really pay attention to how they're riding them, using kind of an array of different styles and techniques based on whatever their background is, because there is no guide to how to race on a King of the Baggers bike. There is no guide. It hasn't been around long enough for there to be a guide. And so it's kind of whatever works for you is what guys are doing. And so it's interesting listening to some of them. I'll maybe share a little bit later in this episode, kind of about what they do, some of them, and how they have tweaked things from the way they ride a super bike. But anyways, nonetheless, reverse engineered. So the way they reverse engineer it is they start, and then you can pick up the next section, Lurch, so you can prepare. The rules say, and obviously this is a league, it's Motoamerica picking it up, 14 races, 7 tracks this year in 2023, season 3. But Motoamerica has rules about what you can and can't do to the bikes and how modified you can make them. Obviously that keeps it fair and competitive, just like a lot of other racing industries. But the King of the Baggers bikes, they are required. It literally is a production Indian frame or a Harley bagger frame, the Road Glide in the case of Harley. There's in the Road Glide, which it's the same frame as the Street Glide, just a different fairing. So
there's other private teams running Harleys that are running Street Glides.
Yes. Yeah. True. Putting the different fairing on it. So it does literally, that's what they get out of the box, a production bagger frame. And they got to start with that. And so we're going to go down, and once they have that frame, here's some of the modifications, the things they do and don't modify basically is what we're going to do. So Lurch is going to go ahead and pick it up and start with the engine.
They're running the 131R engine. It's 2,146 cc's for you CC guys out there. Running about 150 horsepower and 150 foot-pounds of torque. Now, obviously, they've gone in and pumped up the motor a little bit. They got the compression pumped up with high-performance pistons. They've changed out the cam to a racing cam, got larger fuel injections because, you're making more horsepower. You're going to need more gas to get it there. They've got the larger throttle body and intake on the bike, and they're using a racing exhaust. It's an interesting looking exhaust on the Road Glide that you did a walk around. It's kind of a shorter exhaust setup. We were talking about it, and we were thinking, you generally speaking, you have longer exhaust, for
right.
performance, but this is short. So, but it's also larger round, so it must, obviously they've got all tuned up to work the best, but it's definitely far from what you're used to seeing on your standard bagger.
Dare I say, it's not street legal exhaust.
No, it's not street legal at all. It's definitely racing exhaust.
Governor Gruesome would literally have a mental breakdown if he smelt the race fuel I smelt.
Oh, isn't that a great smell?
Oh, if he smelt the race fuel I smelt and heard those bikes, he would literally go into convulsions thinking that we were all going to die.
Yeah, he'd have to go take his team to the French Laundry and hide out, and all the rest of us are
that's right,
living life. So getting back on track. I don't know why you're on Gruesome so much right now today.
Because it's funny, and you've got him. It all has to do with
you're under his bonnet. He's got you. You're under. Never mind. You got to be in your bonnet.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say. So comparing it to like the stock Milwaukee 114, you're looking at 100 horsepower and about 119 foot-pounds of torque. So
150,
quite the improvement.
Going back just because it's been a little while. So 150 horsepower, 150 foot-pounds king of baggers, 100 horsepower, 119 foot-pounds of torque.
Yep.
Yeah, buddy. So, a high lift, did you put in here? You didn't. Yeah, you didn't. I said it in the video. High lift cam, obviously more aggressive. Performance cam would be the other thing.
Which I refer to as a racing cam.
Oh, you did. Racing cam. Just a racing cam.
These are just bullet
you
points.
could use the same cam on the road and not race, but I'm just saying. Lurch is just looking at me. I got to bust his balls. All right. Moving on. Yeah.
Oh, obviously, you need to upgrade the cooling when you start putting out more
Before
horsepower.
You talk about that, we need to do this right here, and you can do this, bro.
Are you searching for the easiest and quickest detachable luggage system for your motorcycle? Rick Rack has just what you're looking for. Forget those frustrating straps and bungee cords that come loose and slap your paint. Check out one of Rick Rack's awesome quick attach strapless luggage rack systems. This father and son team designed something really special that you can't find anywhere else. Yep, these guys ride, and they truly understand the needs of bikers. The Quick Rack quick attach system is strong, durable, and secure with a lockable system. Also, check out their full line of touring bags to accompany your quick detach system. Once you use a Rick Rack, you'll never go back. What are you waiting for, bikeaholics? Head on over to Law Abiding Biker store and check out our full line of Rick Rack systems and bags. lawabidingbiker.com/store.
I'm going to suggest that the King of the Baggers guys, one of the rules, Motoamerica, I actually submitted it last night to the board, that one of the required pieces of gear is they have to actually race with Rick Rack systems on there, dude. How badass would that be, dude? That's some serious race touring. Oh, we need to start a whole nother. Here we go, dude. We need to start a whole nother King of the Bags called Race. That's the Race Touring League. Same exact bike, but you gotta have luggage on it, and you gotta have like 50 pounds of luggage. That's it, dude. That would look like us on our summer trips, bro. All right, let's talk some cooling.
Yeah, obviously, you pump up a motor like that, you're gonna need some upgraded cooling. Stock motor tops out at, well, it doesn't top out. It's governed at 5,500 RPMs. They're running about 6,800, so you're running A lot more RPMs. You got a lot more fuel, a lot more air going through that thing. Is going to get quite a bit hot.
They're about a gear lower than you think they should be, which I do when I'm on the track too.
I've started
or when I'm training. Lower, in town, I usually run a gear lower than but I like running high RPM just because the power's there, the power band, and can get you out of trouble.
Yeah,
so to speak.
You don't necessarily have to think about downshifting and getting on it. You can just get on it.
You don't.
Yeah, I'm getting onto that train a little bit more. So one of the things they did is they extended the cooling fins. So the fins around the cylinders are now longer to have more surface area and dissipate more heat. Something interesting, though, they took the stock horn off the motor when they were beginning to run these things, and they found out that the rear cylinder was overheating because that horn disrupts the air and makes it flow around.
They never knew this.
They didn't know it until they started racing. This is the things that you learn through putting these things through the test and running them hard, and that lead to innovations for, better bikes in the future. So obviously they're not going to put the horn back on, but they came up with something they call...
Took it off for weight and realized, oh shit.
Yeah.
I wonder how long it took them to figure that out. You know what I mean?
True. I don't know.
That's what's funny is and then relate it to the horn, like, oh shit, it was the removal of that horn is why that's overheating. Anyways, I didn't get to ask them, but yeah.
They came up with something called the horn fangs.
That's what they call them now.
Got some carbon fiber scoops, for lack of a better word, on each side to force air to that back cylinder. Because obviously the front one's getting more air. It's out front.
It's blocked by the front.
Back's blocked, yeah. So they've made some scoops, if you will, to keep that rear cylinder cool. And then, of course, they did a larger oil cooler, which instead of having it down low, they moved it up inside the fairing. So where the headlight on a Road Glide would be, that opening no longer has a headlight.
Square radiator.
Don't need a headlight, obviously, so they got the radiator right there. It's just scooping as much air as they can.
I'm going to submit that too.
And they got to have a certain amount of Zero 3D lighting on the front.
Oh, yeah, dude, a Rick Rack and Zero 3D lighting, dude. No shit. Oh, yeah.
I've seen some ulterior motives to your suggestions for them.
I do. So that's one of the things you'll notice. And actually, I can't remember in season that wasn't moved up to like season 2 to where they're like, you know what? We're still having trouble cooling. We're just moving this fucking radiator up and we're just going to cover that whole opening. Obviously heat's a big deal when they're running these bikes, these hard. So interesting that, what they're learning about cooling, and remember, air cooled. So they can't have water cooled. Can't have twin cooled. And it sounds like this is some of the inside information that I don't share on the videos because they'd be too long. But I was talking to them, and it sounded like they were very close to getting water cooled, twin cooled approved for season 2023. But the way I understand it, it stalled out. I think Indian may have had a problem with it. Maybe they weren't ready, or anyways, I don't have any more than that, but that it was verbally said that water cooled was. So maybe, season 2024, maybe we'll see them. It would solve a lot of problems.
Sure.
It's hard keeping when you're running them that hard and air cooled at that high RPM. But I guess it doesn't matter either way to me as long as I keep racing. But it certainly would solve some of the cooling problems.
Yeah, I was watching a video.
Because Indian has the same problem.
Absolutely. I was watching a video just a little bit ago there was a moto journalist that got to take one out on the track and run it around. And as soon as he got off of it, a guy came over with a battery-powered weed blower and stuck it right on the motor, getting air over the motor.
Oh,
as soon as the bike was in there, just blowing the air off of it.
Yeah.
So they do get hot. Another thing that they had to do was obviously they needed some more ground clearance for the improved lean angle. So it sits up quite a bit higher. And the stock lean angle on the Road Glide and Street Glide is 32 degrees, but they've bumped that up to 55 degrees.
That's crazy.
That's damn near Super Bike. I was just looking on the internet. Super Bike's it looks, from what I found in my quick research, the Super Bike's max lean angle is 64 degrees. So they're not too far off. And they're really leaning them bastards over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as they can without framing out,
Yeah.
So a little more on ground clearance. Obviously, guys, that lean angle, if you're not familiar with that, and I know it seems obvious, but to a lot of people, I've been asked that question before. It's basically, as you're laying that bike over into corners, like my stock, I can ride my Harleys pretty hard. my production Harleys, and so just take my Street Glide for an example. That bike I can way outride all my Harleys. They aren't capable of riding as much as I can ride them because I'm limited, because I'm dragging floorboards around corners, and I have to be careful because I have framed out before. I've low-sided before. Pushing it, I've high-sided before. That was a different issue. That wasn't lean angle. That was just some gravel and sand and being stupid. So I can outride them, and so can these riders, obviously. Mm-hmm. Kyle and them can outride those bikes. And in fact, Kyle framed out. Forget which season that was.
Oh, I think it was season 2. I was just watching some of it. Yeah. It might have been 2. It's 2 or 3.
One of the races, but that framing out is when I get all the way over, and then I can even get into my floorboard supports, and you'll really hear like some nasty noises then. And then next is your frame, and it can happen really quick. And then once you hit your actual frame bar, it's just like butter. It just literally, you hardly know what's happening, and it pops your back wheel off.
Yep, you lose traction at the rear, and
then your front pops up, and you're just going to be in a low side slide, and there's no way out of it. So that's something that they battle, obviously, and they still have to even be careful. Even at 55 degrees lean angle, you can still get into the frame. So obviously they train to know, right where that is without going too far, so they don't lose it in the low side. So hopefully that gave a little bit better explanation, or a little bit deeper explanation of leaning. I totally wish, again, these bikes were not made for what we're doing with them, and even the police bikes.
Not their intended purpose.
No, the police bike was never made to be a police bike. It was reverse engineered to be, reverse engineered to be a police bike with lights and siren and all that kind of stuff.
Different seat position, that kind of stuff.
Yep, more aggressive riding position with the tractor seat. So I do wish that was that they would have more lean angle. And I do have a prediction. I made it in the last episode, and I'll sum it up at the end about one of my predictions, and something that I'm excited about that I maybe I just hope it happens more than I think it'll happen, but we'll see, because it would change things with the bagger consumer industry. So yeah, I'll give you those predictions. You got to stick around for the end.
Yeah.
So moving into
just talking about ground clearance a little bit more and kind of how they achieved it. I mean, part of it was through the suspension. You got the Ohlins Screamin Eagle suspension, inverted front fork. You got the rear shocks with external reservoirs. The bike itself sits up a little bit higher. We've done podcasts in the past on suspension and talked about how, through King of the Baggers and talking with the folks at Harley, we've both decided with our recent suspension upgrades, and we did one on Progressive and we did one on Ohlins. We're selling both in our store. Go check those out. There'll be links in the show note below, or show notes to this episode. But we went with, instead of the 12-inch shock, which is on the Street Glide Specials and Road Glide Specials, which gives it a kind of a neat look, right? It kind of squats it down a little bit in the back and gives it a low look.
For a cruiser.
Right? Yeah. Right? And in fact, I had, before we planned on doing suspension on both our bikes, I had ordered new progressive shocks from the rear of my bike, and I went with 12. But after learning from the folks at Harley why they went with a 13, because like on the ST they did a 13. They've got, I'm not sure if it's 13 on the race bike, but they're taller than 12. Obviously.
Yeah, right.
It gets that bike, the rear end of that bike, up and puts a little bit more weight on the front end in curves, and it just handles. It goes into curves and out of curves so much better that I tossed my brand new 12. Still need to sell that, by the way. But I took my brand new 12 off and went to 13, and it makes a big difference. So getting that bike up and improving the stance and the lean angle makes a big difference.
Yep, good points.
Then, of course, they had to go to mid controls, for clearance. You mentioned it earlier, the floorboards
foot controls
are gonna scrape as you go through corners, so you got to get rid of those and go with those mid foot controls. And they're up quite a bit higher, and they're back, and gets that rider in a more aggressive racing posture on the bike, but it also obviously improves the lean angle quite a bit.
Because remember, just to give a visual, these guys are, mid controls, knees up, middle of the bike, and they're leaned forward, hovered over the tank, behind that windshield, looking like they're riding a super bike. And obviously you'll note that when you see it. So they got to put them, as far as the rider triangle goes, they've got to get them in that position, which is why they also, I know you have bars down there, but it's talking a rider triangle, we'll jump around here, but they've got the bars, pretty standard drag race bars. Again,
flat bars, you might refer to them as.
Oh, yeah.
More of a racing dirt bike, whatever, flat
Yep.
bar.
Yep. And that gets them in that position forward right there so they can be laid over that tank and in that proper racing position. So, yeah. So mid-foot controls, yep, up and kick back. Of course, all this stuff, guys, as I'm doing the walk around on the video, the stuff's all like CNC'd billet, like it's custom levers, custom pegs, custom everything, because they had to completely tweak the bike. And so with weight, which did we talk about weight yet?
Not yet.
Okay, we'll get to weight, but that is one of the ways that they reduced weight. Obviously, that's all aluminum, which is lighter than like production style stuff they're using. So just wanted to dive in on that a little bit more. Go ahead and move on.
They had to come up with a aluminum primary cover, and it's designed for maximum lean angles. It's a much more aggressive shape on the bottom, if you will, because they were leaning those bikes over so far with the mid-foot controls. The first thing they were starting to hit was the primary, which is pretty crazy if you think about it.
We do it in motor school and we run through them. In fact, last motor school, guy wore all the way through his primary, but usually it's because we're sliding them out.
Yeah.
And the first thing that it slides out on is the bottom of the primary, and it actually started leaking. It had a full hole in it. We had to replace the whole primary. So they have an extra piece of metal there where it angles up to protect it when it does grind. Because even when they go over, which they do, it'll keep the primary from wearing through.
So in that instance, it's usually where the bike was going down, was sliding on the primary on the stock bikes. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You'll frame out before you actually drag the primary. You will have already be over on your side. Yeah.
And from what I understand, that wasn't the case with this. They were, pushing it so hard through the corners that they were actually.
Well, they can straight. Because they have more lean angle and they can hit that before they frame. So yes. Yeah. It all goes in hand in hand.
Just crazy to think that
it is.
They would actually rub that around
no doubt.
The corner.
It is a billet. Billet aluminum. So it's like, it looks to me like it's CNC machined out of one big ass piece of billet aluminum. Yep. Interestingly, the peg on the left side, we were noting that when we were looking at it earlier, is it straight up drilled and bolted right into the primary and super high up on the primary. Yeah.
To get it up where the rider wants it. Crazy. Yep. Something they did do is they transitioned the shift pattern to the GP shift. Which is opposite of stock. So instead of 1 down and 5 up, they're 1 up and 5 down.
Yep.
Which I don't have a whole lot of experience with, but perhaps it's just with the foot position. Maybe it's quicker, easier to shift. I don't know.
It would. I wish it was on street bikes. In fact, some guys do switch over to GP shift, and I wouldn't mind it. I'm not sure why the production bikes are still that way, but it's something that can be changed. And a lot of race bikes are GP shift bikes. Yep. 1 up and 5 down, just the way it is. So they are converted, but they are using, from my understanding and everything I could research, and is that they're really just using the stock tried. It is a true tried and tested 6-speed transmission, maybe geared different is all.
Yeah, I was actually just watching a video on that too earlier, where they took the original one out, and they were in season 2, they were missing some shifts and having some problems. They went in and redesigned it, but yeah, essentially it's
the same gut, same bolt.
Guts. They made some changes,
a few components,
to make it better. But yeah, for the most part, it's a 6-speed
beef it up basically.
Yeah, because they're putting a lot more pressure on it.
Yeah.
And then let's just talk about reducing weight a little bit. I mean, they removed all the non-essential parts. If you look at the one that you walked around in the video, it's got the Road Glide fairing front end, the look. It's got eventually it's going to be carbon fiber. Right now, the one you looked at, it was plastic.
It was almost done. And I mentioned in my video, it was almost done. It was the number 33 bike, which is Kyle's bike. And it was the brand new, we were the first ones outside of Hardy to look at it. So it was almost ready, but they were still tweaking it. And they're going to add a carbon fiber fairing and bags. It had plastic. Yeah. So
they get a little
it was mostly done.
They'll get a little bit, looked like they had the design of it, the plastics where they wanted it to be, but now they're going to design the carbon fiber. And
they're probably being made while they were there.
It's going to be quite a bit lighter than the plastic even. But going back to like season 1 where they had full inner fairings, and I don't even know if they took the stereos out. In the video, I could see the stock tachometer and speedometer and all that kind of stuff. Speakers, I mean, everything. So now this one has all that shit gone. There's no inner fairing. It's just that outer fairing in the shape of a Road Glide. So there's a lot of weight savings there. They're using a lot of billet aluminum and carbon fiber parts to get lower. The only thing they can't use the carbon fiber on is the wheels.
Right.
Yeah. So, stock bikes around 850 pounds. These bikes are like 635.
Yep.
So they've shaved over 200 pounds.
And each year they get lighter.
Yeah.
In fact, the rules are, I believe, if I remember right, it's 635 last season.
Mm-hmm.
They change it this season. You can go as low as 625. You can't reduce any more weight than that.
Right.
So, of course, what are the teams doing?
They're going to get 625.
Right away looking at what now? I mean, there's only so much. It's interesting because there's only so much you can do, like, to get that weight down. And so I'm sure they're struggling to figure out how to shave another 5 pounds.
Racing's
or 10 pounds.
Racing's a lot in the rules. You find out what you can do and what you can get away with and how light you can
go. And then
go.
you go with that.
Yeah. If it says the minimum 625, you're going to be 625 if you want to be competitive.
Yep.
Yeah. So the wheels are 17-inch wheels, and that's because they want to run the Motoamerica-approved Super Bike racing slicks. Mm-hmm. They're cast aluminum. Final drive is a chain drive.
Before you move to chain drive, I do want to mention in the video, I didn't explain it, and somebody asked me, and I should have explained it because I know better. But on the race bikes in the video, there's that both tires are covered.
Yeah, with the warmers.
And so just to explain what that is, if you didn't know, they basically have nice little, like our heated vests, but they have heated tire vests and warmers, and they keep
tire
them,
snuggies,
if you will. They even have a thermometer on them, and they keep those tires at a very specific temperature. I know this seems obvious to some of you, but if not everybody that listens to this has seen racing, but basically they want them hot because they want them sticky and they're slicks, so that when they're going around the race, it's like bubble gum sticking to the track, essentially, for lack of a better term. And if they're cold, when rubber's cold, it doesn't grip and stick as much to the track, and they need every bit of traction and stickiness that they can get. So they want them at a certain temperature. That way they can get right out on the track without having to run some short lap or, easy laps to get the tires warm up and all that crap. They're just ready to go. And it was cold down there. I remember 34 degrees in Arizona, Casa Grande, when I hit the track that morning. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine, depending on where you're at and what the ambient temperature is out, you may or may not have to use them. But when you're starting out at 34 degrees, and I think you said it was around 50 when they were actually testing.
Once they got out on the track.
Need to get those things warmer, keep them soft and sticky.
Mm-hmm. Sticky, icky.
Yeah, chain drive, final drive.
They convert them from belt drive. They convert them to chain drive.
And in the first season, they had to use the stock rear swing arm or swing. There's not a front swing arm, so the stock swing arm. But they had converted them to chain, but they had to go around. You were telling me they had to go around the stock swing arm, so they had to put in a idler gear, sprocket. And that wasn't obviously.
It caused a lot of problems. For Indian and Harley. Yeah. And I'll dive in a little bit deeper if you don't mind. So essentially, you're trying to convert these bikes to chain drive, and the problem you run into is, the chain it has some slack in it. It has to have a certain amount of slack. And so it was set up for that belt drive. And so trying to get the chain around the swing arm, it was hitting the swing arm. Yeah. Right. And so it was, obviously they can't have that. They knew that. And also, trying to get the right chain tension. Chains have to be adjusted, if you've obviously ever had chain driven bikes, to a certain, a certain amount of slack. So with that said, the teams really had to do like some figuring out to figure out how they were going to keep this chain on this bike and get the proper tension and all that. And so, like Lurch said, they put idler sprockets or idler gears, if you will. All that is basically a dummy wheel to further guide the chain so it doesn't drag on the swing arm.
Right. Keep it on the swing arm.
So and obviously the more parts you have, the more failures you can have, especially with those. And so they had failures with them, and you really don't want chain failures when you're racing around the track. And I know that has caused some, I'm sure there's more tensions than that between race team and rider. But the engineers, were trying to design and do the best they could. They're supposed to make these bikes fast and be on the track and be a chain drive. So it's nobody's real fault. But I think Moto America realized that was going to be a problem. And, you don't want that you don't want to lock up a rear wheel. And they did lose some idler sprockets and things like that over time. So Moto America changed the rules and said, okay, we do have to be chain drive, but you can go ahead and make a custom swing arm so that you don't have to have extra parts, and you can do proper chain tension and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Talking about the brakes, they have Brembo 4-piston brake calipers, 2 front, 1.
Were you going to talk about the swing arm before we move on at all, or is that a different spot?
I thought you already talked about it.
So basically, I
thought you had wrapped it up quite well.
So the way, we didn't completely. So the custom swing arm, going a little bit deeper into that. So they did make custom swing arms, but it's basically now pretty beautiful. It is a billet, CNC out of billet, no welds in the swing arm, which is good, right? For robustness. They were very proud of that they were able to use a piece of billet aluminum, CNC it, no welds. And you'll definitely notice it's one of the things on the back of the bike. And from what I could see,
it's a very good looking
is
part.
No more idler wheels at all on the bike. So yeah,
they've got a chain tensioner is the only thing I saw on there. Yep. No extra idlers or wheels or any other sprockets on it. Okay, moving in the brakes, 4-piston caliper Brembo brakes, 2 in the front, 1 in the rear, 300 millimeter rotors on those. I would imagine that there's probably some weight savings in there with the type of materials that they're using. A crazy looking race seat, not something you're used to seeing on a bagger. Yeah, you sit much higher up in the bike to get that rider into a aggressive racing position. It's got I don't know if I keep calling it or thinking of it as a pillow, but it's got some type of padding on the tank. So when the rider leans over, they can rest on that.
It's so you can throw the bike over.
Yeah.
So when we're doing those corners on the high-speed track, you're using a lot of your leg and your thigh to transition the bike and get it from one side back over to the other to transition. So it's
giving them real estate to do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Leverage.
And with that, they actually, for lack of better words, they dented in the rear of the tank. They've modified it so that there's some,
squeeze their knees up against that tank tight and have their thighs on that pad. Yeah, that's why.
That's where their knees are at because of the much higher foot controls, the mid controls, and the higher controls. They've made those ergonomic shape to their legs so that they can push on them and lean the bike over.
And if you're up over the bike high, a little bit higher, you'll have more leverage on the bike to transition and get it into those corners. So if you think about it, a visual is they raised the bike, but then they brought those mid controls up really high, the foot controls. So if you guys can visualize, if they left a stock seat on there, now the guy's knees they look like Lurch riding a bike, exactly. Like Lurch riding my Dyna. His look like a monkey humping a football, and your knees would be up in your face. So then they're like, okay, well now we got to make this thick ass seat because now the rider's way too high. And then like Lurch said, this really designed pad up over, and they can also lean their chest on that pad because they're leaned up over the tank. So it serves a couple different purposes, but puts them in that super bike riding position.
36-inch high seat.
Yeah.
That's high.
That is high.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when I was down there watching the guys because of that high seat, the team basically these guys are not tall. Travis isn't tall. He's just a little bit shorter than me, and Kyle's definitely shorter than me standing next to him. And I'm 5'8". So when they get on these bikes, they can't they can only have one leg down. So the team helps them hold the bike while they jump up on it. And then they kind of hold it till they at least get situated to where they can kind of have one foot down. And then they pretty much, when they let out on the clutch, the team lets go and they can ride the bike. So really super high bikes.
Ride longer and treat your ass with some respect already.
Oh my God, that ass.
Get hooked up with a premium butt buffer seat cushion. This company of bikers developed a super thin hospital-grade seat cushion made of solid and elastic materials.
Oh, I love elastic.
And it's unlike gel pads that will leak if punctured. The butt buffer is designed not to slide around on your seat, fits all motorcycles, installs in seconds, easily cleans, and helps dampen those darn vibrations.
Vibrations.
With plenty of models to choose from, they assure you'll have a comfortable ass when riding. Head on over to LAB Bike and Biker Store and check out our lineup of butt buffer seat cushions.
Oh, treat my ass.
I purposely didn't look at you so I wouldn't laugh. Because I think the face you make when you're doing that voice is funnier than what you're saying. You look like a pervert.
I'm getting all into it, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, the butt buffer guys. We need to get King of the Baggers on the butt buffers, dude. If it was any more than 8 laps, they'd have to, because those seats don't look comfortable. But 8 laps, I think they can handle 8 laps. Yeah. All right. So we went over the seat. Yep. Definitely a custom seat. And then, of course, if you look up at the rider triangle, guys, a couple things to note up there. Custom grips, obviously lightweight grips as much as they can, levers and custom levers and custom controls. If you look up in the fairing on my video, you'll see some bottles. It's some fluid overflow stuff up there for, they got hoses in them and things like that. Obviously, these are custom bikes and they're moving stuff around where they need to. 2 reservoirs. It is a clutch cable. So, obviously Hardy switched, I believe in 21 back to the clutch, cable clutch on the baggers. Well, they're using a cable clutch and 2 reservoirs up on the handlebars. One for the front brakes and the other obviously are, we believe, for the rear brake, since there's no reservoir down by the foot controls, like on a production bike. For the rear brake, and it get too hot
the
too.
Foot controls aren't there.
The foot controls aren't there.
Yeah.
It would definitely.
Like a stock bike.
Right.
And like you said, it's
boil.
heat. You boil it. And then if you boil your brake fluid, you've lost your ability to stop.
Yep. So that wouldn't be good. Interestingly enough, one of the things about brakes, which we didn't mention, this is the stuff you get on the podcast that you don't get in the videos. So doing some research and just from what I know, here's the deal with braking. They have to ride a little bit. Each racer's different. And I think I said this either in this episode or the last, the riders there's no guide to riding these bikes. It's a fairly new sport. This is season 3. These bikes weren't meant to do this. So the riders are really using their experience and their backgrounds, whether it be flat track or dirt bike or super bike. And you pretty much do whatever the F works, is what they're doing. And so the difference between the super bikes, one of the big differences between the super bikes and the Harleys is the Harleys are heavier, even though they've lightened them up. With a super bike or a sports bike, there's so much front braking that you can do stoppies. You can basically brake really hard. You see guys do tricks and they bring the back wheel off the ground. I know this from experience and training on Harleys. That's not possible. It's too heavy. You can actually lock the front brake up, which you'll usually on a super bike, before you lock the front up, you'll bring the back off the ground. So you can kind of feel, right? Mm-hmm. With a Harley, you're just going to slide. If you have ABS, that's going to save you. But these bikes, obviously, they got rid of all safety features. So you basically can lock the front up. So therefore, you tend to use more front brake on super bikes. And generally speaking, right, the 70-30 rule. But on these bikes, some of the racers are using a lot more rear just because you don't want to lock that front up. And there is maybe no feeling going into that between locking. So they're tending to rely on the back brake. It's unconventional, right?
Yeah.
Which this racing is very unconventional. Sorry.
It's fun as the sport's been progressing and they've been getting faster and more aggressive. They're going into those corners hard, and it's not uncommon to see that back end start to wobble.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's so cool when it happens.
They're slowing down so quick and they're downshifting. It's starting to, they're used to it, obviously. It scared most of us, but they just work it right through the corner. But yeah, they're kind of, obviously in racing, faster you go, the better off you are. So they're coming in those corners really hot, braking hard and accelerating hard out of them. And it's fun to watch those big ass bikes dance around.
It is. Yeah. It is. And they don't even skip a beat. You know what I mean? They've done it so much. If you saw that on the road, you'd be like, oh shit, he's going down, but those guys, they're amazing racers. I really say that. Yeah. Like they have to use skills that there is no guide to.
Yeah. One of the races,
nobody taught them how to get on a bagger and race it. Like they just did it.
Just had to find out.
Right. Just had to find. Yeah. FAFO.
That's right.
Straight up.
A couple of them have FO'd.
Right. True that.
There was one of the races I was watching where a couple of the guys came in to a corner hard and they're pushing hard and they got what we would refer to as bagger wobble. Yep. The back end's starting to wobble and they're professional riders. They just point the bike where they want to go and they accelerate out of it. But it was fun to watch the two together. Oh. Just because
they're just pushing everything they have. It's exciting.
It is.
I know what scene you're talking about. Him and O'Hara are right next to each other, and they're both coming out of that corner, just wobbling on the paint. Yeah, they're right on the paint, and it's just like intense because they're like sports bikes look so smooth, but these guys like sports bikes. Like I can't. It's hard for me with super bikes like to see when they're on the edge. They're on the edge all the time. I know that, but when you're watching the back, you're like, oh shit, like they're on the edge of crashing. Like,
I've seen it in sport bikes too, when they're coming into a corner hard and decelerating and they're kind of dancing around. But it just, maybe because of the type of bike it is and how it's designed, it doesn't seem as, like you say, out of control. On a bagger, a little longer bike, the way it's designed, it's really obvious.
The body panels,
And it does, you got all kinds of stuff shaking around. And Going back to what you said at the beginning of the podcast, the sport bikes are meant for racing. And so when they're doing that, it doesn't seem that crazy. But when you see it on a bagger, it just seems a little bit crazy.
It adds excitement to it, honestly. I think it's a good thing. It adds that visual excitement to it, like, holy shit, these guys are right on the edge. And then you see going into corners in slow motion, their carbon fiber bags are just flexing. And we're like, that thing's just going to blow up, dude. It's just not normal.
There was something that Travis Wyman said. He goes, man, I watch those racing. I think these guys are crazy. Well, wait a minute, I'm one of those guys.
No doubt, dude. Is that what he said?
Yeah, something to that effect. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So interestingly enough, Kyle Wyman did a short little video on YouTube.
It's fun to watch.
It is fun to watch.
It's on his channel. Check it out.
And he was at Laguna Seca. And he basically he has a road glide with 2021 road glide special with a 131 in it. And of course the Ohlins suspension, no other mods. So no clearance, no nothing. It's just his street bike. And anyways, long story short, he's able to take it around the track, and he basically, the same track he takes his King of the Baggers, and he basically was able to shave 30 seconds off.
He was moving that stock bike.
Yeah, he was moving fast. And he basically came to the conclusion that he could shave off about 30 seconds with his King of the Baggers bike, right?
Yeah, he had raced there previously in his, so he had lap times on his, with his race bike. And so he did it on the, on his street bike, if you will. And he had another guy following him around the track, and watching the video from the other guy. I mean, they're moving. And the other guy, I can't remember his name, but he said, man, I thought it was going to be boring following you around the track with that big old bagger. He says, you were moving.
Yeah. Only limited by, again, that clearance, that lean angle and all that, just completely limited on what he could do.
And a lot of floorboard scraping, but it was kind of fun to see it from the other bike's point of view. He had the thing leaned over.
Oh, yeah, as far as you can get it.
As far as it could, yeah.
Without framing out.
Without framing. He was dragging floorboards, yeah. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive. That just kind of shows you weight and all the modifications. It's a good little sum up. That's a lot when you're talking racing.
Is a lot,
they're looking at tenths of seconds, and we're shaving 30 seconds off here. So pretty amazing. What other about modifications or anything, Lurch?
Well, that sums up all our notes anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else on your mind that you want to talk about as we tie it up?
I don't think so. I'm just, I keep saying it, but I'm really impressed with this series. It's fun to watch. And the competition between Indian and Harley is good for the consumer. This series is good for us in the touring market, because they're going to be creating a lot of upgraded parts through this racing series. And as you said, we think that in the future, there'll be more of a King of the Baggers inspired road glide and street glide.
Oh,
maybe something.
I'm not there yet. Oh, I thought you were saying it. Oh, no. I said I'm going to save it for the end of the episode.
Oh, damn it.
So, God.
Well, I'll let you say it then.
Listen. I do have a prediction, which we're going to talk about as we end it up.
Yeah.
We'll get it a little more detailed. Here's one of my predictions, is that there's a lot of people out there. We're not sure, we want them as patrons, and we want to get to know them. We want to give them benefits and all that kind of stuff. But I do have a prediction that some of them just want to leave a flat donation, and we never balk at a flat donation. Here are some of them. Lurch is going to tell you.
Timothy Victor of East Norriton, Pennsylvania, with a substantial donation. Megan Nix of Charles, Louisiana. She donated after asking a question. Thank you for that. And Walter Oliver of Beaufort, South Carolina, again with a substantial donation.
LABbitingbiker.com/donate is how they did that. And of course, we appreciate every donation. Helps put a little fuel in the Law Abiding Biker gas tank
and keep this thing running on down the road.
So this is what happens when you record too many episodes.
Yeah.
The other one I said it, but this one I said I was getting. It's no big deal. It's funny. So here is my prediction. We'll get in a little bit deeper. Really, King of the Baggers. I've said why it's good for the industry. It's obviously already inspired performance bagger scene. You're seeing it all over the internet. How long is it going to last? We're not sure, but I like it. I like the scene. But you're seeing performance baggers really we're taking notice of them, and in the form of Harley-Davidson as an example. Coming out last year, I went to Santa Barbara, California, to test ride and review the Lowrider ST. Definitely performance, bagger inspired. They also last year sent us for how long do we have that? A couple of weeks?
At least 2.
At least 2 weeks. They sent us a Street Glide ST. totally performance bagger inspired. More lean angle, the bigger motor. Did it have? Oh, it had only. I can't remember. No, it didn't have. I can't remember what suspension it had. But anyways,
it didn't have the Ohlins. No, that's an extra add-on.
That's right. I would have said that in the video. Yeah. But anyways, these baggers are. It had a engine, different cam, right? Too. Yeah, 117 with a different cam. So, definitely performance bagger inspired. So you're seeing these companies do this, and Harley-Davidson obviously doing that. So it's going to keep going. This isn't going anywhere. It's getting more popular by the year, which is why they're adding amount of races and locations and all this kind of stuff. Here's my prediction. And I want to say up front, I would not say it if I couldn't. I'm saying it because it's my gut. I have no inside information. I have nobody telling me this, no leaks, no nothing. This is strictly me having my nose to the ground in the industry, us, and me knowing kind of maybe what I think Harley should do and what I'm hoping for, because I can see this getting even bigger. So here's the deal. I have to believe that in the next couple of years, I hope sooner than later, Harley is, basically is working on and releases much more. I think that was a first go around, and I think they realized it's so popular with the STs that they kind of took notice. So I have to hope that they're working on, here's my vision. It's a bagger. Mm-hmm. So let's just take a street glide or a road glide. You put it in your mind, whichever one you like. If you're cool, it'll be a street glide.
Whatever.
Anyways.
If you're like everybody else, it'd be a street glide. If you're
not
cool,
anymore.
Be a road glide.
That you used to be able to say that, not anymore.
Roadies are
now,
catching on.
See what happens?
Yeah.
Then it just becomes boring because everybody has one again. You know what I mean? It's funny. So it's going to be one of those platforms at first, and I believe they are going to raise the bags on it. Mm-hmm. So it's got to have, we're going to talk all about clearance. They're going to put suspension on it, probably Ohlins, that's going to raise the bike even more. Rear, and they're going to put inverted front forks, and it's going to raise the bike up. So you're talking, I'm hoping, what's a regular 132 degrees? Mm-hmm. I'm hoping we get up in the 40s at least for a street. I don't know what design they would have to do with primary and things like that, but I at least think they're going to give us hopefully upwards of 40 degrees lean angle.
So maybe some higher exhaust, higher controls, maybe even mid controls.
No, I guarantee mid controls. You have to.
Yeah.
You can't get clearance with floorboards.
Not in the position that these guys are riding, and they're not going to have it bolted to the primary, but something more like a mid control, like came on your Lowrider S.
Yes. They're going to get rid of floorboards.
Before we put the forward controls on it.
They're going to put mid controls like on a Dyna Lowrider S or ST.
Yeah.
And obviously those are just stock higher. And you just can't get ground clearance when you have forward facing floorboards with huge ass supports. You're not going to get lean angle. So they're definitely going to do that. And the shifters and all that. Again, all to give you somewhere, I hope higher than forward. That would be great. The more, the better. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit different seat, more race inspired. It's going to have a higher back to get you maybe even forward and up over the bike a little bit more, like the tractor seat on our police bike. Although it's not going to be a tractor seat, but to get you more in that race position. And it's obviously going to be street legal. They're going to keep it street legal. I think it may be gutted down a little bit. The interesting thing will be are they going to put a boom box in it?
Probably not.
You know what I mean?
Right. That's just
because is it going to be touring? There's a fine line there, right?
You already got the ST that's got the boom box.
Right, but then it's not race bike. So I know, what if a guy wants to buy both and wants to tour on it still?
This doesn't sound like a touring bike that we're talking about. So in my mind, it's going to be more towards the king of the baggers. You already got the ST, which is a bump up from the normal road glide, street glide. Now we're going to take it another level with all the stuff you just talked about. I think that they do not have a boom box.
So you think they're going to try to gut weight?
Yeah, absolutely. It may not even come with ABS or traction control, any of that kind of stuff if it's truly a race-inspired bike and meant for the track, but barely street legal. Something that a guy could have a separate set of wheels and tires, maybe, if you wanted to ride on the street. But if you want to have it street and track, then you have your track tires and all that kind of stuff. Right. I think it's going to be aggressive. It's going to be stripped down.
I agree.
For weight.
I think I agree with that. And so it's going to be that kind of bike that you can basically, I think the sport's going to evolve. And guys like us are, you know, just using us as an example, or other bikers are going to get into novice type racing, kind of like they do with sports bikes. So a lot of guys with sports bikes go to track days, and, you know, you can, you know, get memberships at tracks, and you can just take your street bike out there and you can race it around a track, something Harley lacks. But I think it's coming, and you'll be able to do it with this premonition we have of this bike coming, to where you could literally go out and you could be your own king of the baggers, or get in even other little leagues and race people. There's so much of that in the sports bike, super bike industry.
Yeah.
I think that would be so fun. And I think it would be so, build the sport even that much more and get so much excitement out of it, and give guys who, just a bunch of Harley guys and Indian guys that want to get out with their air-cooled V-twins, and they want to lay down some laps on a track, and now they've got a bagger, a production bagger that can do it. And like you say, strip down, you know, lighter, and something you can ride home. You don't have to trailer it, you know, something you can still take out and do twisties, you know, on the short day ride. But
yeah, you can find some, you know, street, you know, DOT street legal slicks, you know, they're essentially slicks that have very little grooves, you know. Yeah.
And still take it out on the road and carve up, you know, near us, the canyon, or, you know, but clearly not going to be, I think, like Lurch said, not going to be for long distance touring. Once you get mid controls and things like that, it tends
depending on your height, it makes
depending on your height.
For me, it'd be very uncomfortable for long distances. It'd be a lot of fun just for racing around a track, but but just again,
even me long distance, I don't want mid controls. No. That's hard. That's hard
nice
on
to be
me.
Able to have them out front and, you know, throw your feet up on the highway pegs and move around and get into different seating positions to move those pressure points around.
Any other thing about this bike that you can see that
our prediction bike?
Yeah, our prediction bike. I think that. Do you think it'll stay belt drive or go to chain?
Interesting. I don't know.
I was wondering about that the other night. I'm like, would they go chain? I think they stick with belt, because they still want it to be like a production, and that's what the way they have the rest designed. They'd have to redesign everything, right? Does that make sense?
Well,
like they'd have to redesign to do a chain drive.
Well, they've already done it.
Yeah.
You know, they've got the template for it with the King of the Baggers. So bike. So maybe.
Yeah, kind of a template. It's custom CNC billet that the engineering team made. But I guess, they could.
That's the foundation of that.
That would be cool,
then move that into production. Or maybe if it doesn't come with it, maybe that could be an add-on, you know.
Yeah.
To switch it out. Hard
like a Screamin Eagle part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Convert your bike to chain.
Yeah. And I have to admit, I don't know why
what's it going to be called?
So much better than a belt. I really don't.
I haven't researched it.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. What are they going to call it?
The King.
The King.
I don't know. Hard to say.
Well, it's not hard to say. It's a guess.
Well, it's hard to say at the moment because I hadn't thought about it.
Me neither. So, that's why I'm bringing it up and putting you on the spot.
The King.
I don't know.
The King.
The King.
Just the King.
I think they're going to make a street glide and a road glide version.
Oh, absolutely.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. So
because that's not that hard.
This is
just
fun.
A front fairing.
Right. Right. Just a front fairing for the most part. What shall they call it? The street glide king and the road glide king.
There you go.
Just add a king to it, dude.
Yeah. It's simple, and it speaks to what it is.
And I'm guessing it will have some sort of logo on it, marking it as a King of the Baggers series bike.
Yeah, some badging or logo or something.
Badging or logo.
Probably some special paint that only comes on that bike.
Right, of course. Yeah. You got to do the Harley paint, dude, and make it special. I'm excited. That would be cool if they had that, especially if you have a track around you. We were talking about that. If they did it, we just don't have a track around us. Like we'd have to go long. We'd have to go longer distances. Seattle, Spokane. But I can't say that we won't be doing that if they do come out with one. We'll see. I would love to, because I love riding the tracks, and I would love to have that style bike. I mean, to actually have a more race inspired bike with lean angle.
If that's the case, we're going to need to move some of the fleet that's in the garage.
I'm just dreaming right now. We'll see. I would love it. But hopefully, at any rate, Hardy would hook me up with one so that we could test ride and review it and head over to a track. So we'll see. But anyways, that's probably enough about that. It's getting late, and Lurch has got to get home for dinner. It is 5:30. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I know we had a lot of fun talking about it.
Absolutely. Talk about it all day long.
And just a reminder, all those videos are over on 3 of them. Reference King of the Baggers is over on the YouTube channel, guys. Get on over there. I do know what would make their bikes go faster, though, Lurch. I did not reveal this to them because, number one, I didn't have time. Number 2 is, here's the deal. I don't like to go, trackside and let them know that I know more than them. Because do you think that's kind of rude? Like, I'm smarter than you, even though I know I am. Like these engineers, dude, they don't realize the secret to how they can make sure they win the Motoamerica King of the Baggers series in 2023. It's very simple.
I think it's selfish of you not to share with them.
For a price, I might share, or I might just send them this and go, here's the secret sauce.
Oh yeah, it's going to make the bike so much more streamlined.
Oh, it's slick. The secrets to speed.
Yes, the air will just fly off of the bike.
It's like the shit in Lampoon's Christmas Vacation that they put on Sparky's sled. Right. You need Bug Slide. That's all you need. Bug Slide, absolutely the best waterless motorcycle cleaner on the market. The wind will just slide off your bike, making it easier to go in those corners. Yeah, Bug Slide, tried and tested right here by the law-abiding biker crew. It is our number 1 go-to waterless motorcycle cleaner. Even if it doesn't make your bike go faster, it will definitely make it look better. And it's what's better than looking better on the track. You've already won one competition. It's the Clean Bike competition. Bug Slide cleans, shines, and degreases while removing bugs and other surface contaminants with ease. Use it on your motorcycle, car, boat, and more. Never need to wax again. You can here and there if you like. We're going to do a video on that. The release agent in Bug Slide contains a UV filter for added protection. It's free of abrasives, safe on all non-porous surface. Use it on your helmet and face shield. We use it on everything. Yes, even safe on that Harley denim paint. Don't be afraid. Use it. We have a denim bike here. We use it on our night train. We believe in it so much we carry it in stock right in the law-abiding biker store. We sell the heck out of it. Big Daddy Kane and Goat have it ready to box up and ship to you right now. It is all we use on our police fleet of motorcycles before parades and events and daily, just to keep it in between those wet washes. And I know that it'll make the King of Baggers bikers faster, more aerodynamic, and slick. Did you know I was going there, Lurch? You had no idea what I was talking about until you looked up at the notes and I had it open, huh?
Yep. Once I looked up, I knew where you were going with it.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. We had a blast. Check it out. King of the Baggers series. First race is coming up. I'm actually going to, tonight, after you go home, I'm going to secure my subscription. So we'll have to get together a few times and watch them together.
Absolutely.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Knock back a couple cold ones.
Maybe do a little behind-the-scenes Instagram stuff, or maybe a little live, here and there, little shorts or lives or something.
So make sure you bring a good supply of your homemade beef jerky.
I will.
Thank you.